All right, everybody. So I'm going to be talking about OpenTelemetry, but it's not another OTel talk because I'm going to talk about the front end. I'm going to talk about why, I'm going to talk about the state of it, and I'm going to show some code at lightning fast speed, so I hope you're all paying attention. Right, so I care about this because I used to be a front-end engineer, and I always got roped in as the escalation as the first point of call, because all a user cares about is the fact that, oh, this number is wrong, or this is slow. And so often you're playing this game of chicken to figure out, is it the front end, is it the service? But we don't instrument our front ends, and we should. And we're always behind the curve. And a good example is the mobile SDKs. Every single one of them is sitting in development at the moment. So you probably wouldn't want to use these in production. And we need to move forward with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some examples of where it is with JavaScript, coming from my web background. And you'll see there's a big warning up there above my head saying client instrumentation is experimental. But you can still do some pretty fun and interesting stuff with it at the moment, and that's what I'm going to show you. So this is the simple architecture. I'm using a JavaScript SDK. My telemetry is going through a proxy. We'll talk about why in a minute. Then going through in a collector for additional processor, and then it goes into a backend of choice using the OpenTelemetry protocol. Now, in addition to the other nice things proxies do, they allow us to add cross-origin request headers, which we need on our spans, because if you don't, what do we think is going to happen? Well, your spans are not going to appear in your backend, and you're going to get these horrible errors. So do that first. Then we need to create a resource, just like we do for a backend. But the thing that might be different is that we merge the attributes we create with the browser detector. And that allows us to see things such as the brand. So is it Internet Explorer still in 2025? True story. Or other things that are useful as well. And then we create for logs our exporter, our provider using the resource. We set it as our global provider. And then instead of console.log, we do logger.emit. And when we do that in magic, it then appears in our backend coming through with the information that we want. And this is better than what I used to do, which is run down 2 flights of stairs to go and open the DevTools console of my user. And that's a fortunate position because most of us don't have users in the same company. Now, for traces, it's a similar pattern again. We talk about an exporter, we specify a web trace provider, and then the bit that's different is we register a context manager and a propagator, which is quite different. And that's because, much like us humans, spans have baggage. And here I'm talking about context, the fact that we need the active span IDs in order to correlate with the backend service, and then also the appropriate headers for the attributes defined by the user, like session and user ID. Without the propagation, you will not have this picture above my head again. This notion of being able to see not just how long the request is taking from a user point of view, but how long each individual service takes. So up above, you can see that the Java service is taking a lot shorter. Now, we also have this notion of instrumentations, which are other useful pieces of information that we can get to try and diagnose common performance front-end issues, such as document load. So you might be like, well, why do I care about document load? If you have slow loading assets, such as poorly optimized images, or maybe even unoptimized Java code, or even JavaScript code, or even huge things like Hotjar, they can take ages to load and lead to a decrease in performance. So we need to be able to see that. We've also got the notion of user interaction. I'm not meaning being like in a creepy monitoring way of seeing what your users are doing. It's simply to allow it to correlate with the events to see the experience of what's happening off the back of their interactions. So the example that you'll see up here is this notion of I'm entering input into a text box so I can see how long that reaction is taking, but also how long it takes to get data back. And I've therefore got the full idea of how responsive the application is to the user input, which is an important thing. Now, when it comes to metrics, of course, we need to cover all of our signals. We need Core Web Vitals, which are a set of measures that are intended as a standard for the user experience of websites. And sadly, the plugin is still under development for the JavaScript OpenTelemetry client instrumentation, but you can do it yourself with a gauge. So I've got an example up here with a gauge, and then what you'll do is you'll add the appropriate attributes on the callback, observe the result, and send it through to your backend. And then if all goes well and I end up going to time, you can then build funky dashboards on the top. And we all love a good dashboard, don't we? So you'll be able to see against the live traffic compared to tools like Lighthouse, where it's synthetic, what's actually happening, whether it's considered slow, and also what's happening over time, which is handy. If you want to dive into the code, that QR code up there is what you want to check out. It's all there. Otherwise, come and find me at the booth and we can chat afterwards as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Carly. That's really good.